we now have a session which is called Innovation versus Iteration. Now, of course, the industry talks a lot about innovation, but often we only see iterative development and improvements. But what is the best approach for an operator? We are about to find out from a power lineup of 6 absolutely brilliant experts. So please join me in welcoming them to the stage one by one. First up, we're delighted to have the CEO at Coolbet. Please give it up for Endre Nesset. Thank you. Welcome, Endre. Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic. Yes, we've got a stage full of expertise right now. I'm absolutely very happy to have them all here to help me answer the questions. Next up, we're going to give it up for the co-founder and group CEO of Low6. Please welcome to the stage, Jamie Mitchell. Thank you. Excellent. Great to see you, Jamie. How are you, my friend? Wonderful. And joining the stage right now is a dear friend of iGaming Next. Please give it up for the CEO of Incentive Games, John Gordon. Thank you. Hey, great to see you, John. Welcome, my friend. Oh my goodness, I'm totally getting shirt envy here. That is a cool shirt. I love it. Okay. Next up, we're going to welcome the CMO of the mighty Weekend. Please give it up for Kirsten Openshaw. Thank you. We got Weekend in the house. Fantastic. Welcome, Kirsten. Great to see you. Okay, joining us next is the CEO of the mighty Luckbox. Please give it up for Tomash Rosander. Thank you. Excellent. Your Luckbox. We got some love for Luckbox in the room. That's great. Good to see it. Look at it again. Jacket envy. I tell you. Okay, and rounding up our power lineup today is the founder and CEO of the mighty Kero Sports. Please give it up for Tomash Devenishek. Thank you. Welcome, Tomash. Great to see you, my man. Brilliant. Okay. So I'm very glad you've all joined me today to answer these very important questions, iteration versus innovation. But before we get into any of that, in time-honored tradition, I would love to invite all of you to introduce yourselves in a bit more detail to the room. And we're going to start with your good self, Kirsten. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten Openshaw. I'm the CMO at Weekend. I've been within marketing for plus 10 years now, which I hate to admit because it makes me sound older. But within gaming, iGaming with about 6 years now.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much. Your good self, John.
Yeah, I'm John Gordon, the CEO and co-founder at Incentive Games. We're the #1 free-to-play games provider in the industry. I'm sure Jamie will have an argument against that, but yeah, we provide all the sort of bespoke content for FanDuel, Bet365, Live Score Group.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Whoop.
I'm Endre.
Oh, do we have the mic?
Is it working?
There
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yes.
Literally, now we're talking. Thank you.
Yes. I'm Endre. I'm the president and CEO of Coolbet, a operator licensed in 4 licenses, operating in 10 markets, headquartered out of Tallinn, Estonia. So very happy to be here. Yes.
Fantastic. Tallinn, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Absolutely love it. Okay, moving on down, my good friend. Thank you.
So I'm Tomash Rosander.
And again with the microphone. Hello, hello.
Hello?
Yes,
yeah,
we're good.
Working. So I'm Tomash Rosander. I'm the CEO of Real Luck Group. I've been trying to innovate in this industry since the good old poker days, and now lately with Luckbox and some micro betting.
Nice, that's awesome. Okay, and over to your good self.
Mic check. Perfect. Tomash Devenishek, CEO and founder of a company called Kero Sports. We're a micro betting provider that specifically focuses on algorithmic curation, i.e. giving people what they want rather than a large menu of items.
Nice, thank you.
Yep, Jamie Mitchell, co-founder, CEO of Low6, free-to-play gamification company based out of the UK, #1 free-to-play provider in the space.
Mic drop. Okay, love it. That's great. And just to my dear friends in AV department, if you could summon up a magical clock in these monitors in front of us, that would be absolutely wonderful. Okay, so let's dive right in. I mean, the title of this debate is Iteration versus Innovation. So my first question, open question, whoever wants to dive in, is this a bit of a chicken or egg question, or is one the master of all methods forward? What say you? Who's going to jump in first? Yes, John,
yeah,
well volunteered.
Yeah, so I think it's innovation is iteration, over time. I think companies like myself and some of the B2B providers up here, some of the operators get the benefit of what looks like overnight innovation, but it's actually years, 10 years, for instance, in our company of iteration upon iteration, time over time. So whether it's A/B testing over the years or that sport works in that country and all the data analysis, I think some of the operators now have the luxury of having suppliers like ourselves and some of the companies up here to be able to say, we'll just take that off the shelf or we'll adapt it here and there. So I think, there isn't in this industry, I don't think there's a huge amount of innovation since maybe Cash Out or Build a Bet, and then maybe 5 years later, everyone else tries to copy it themselves. We've got micro betting and other bits and pieces, and what we do is innovative in its own way. But I think, like on that point, I think it is in one or the other. I think innovation is iteration over time, and it's just how do you get that from the industry? Is it from a supplier like us, or do you try to build it yourself?
Interesting. And of course, there's all those trends in big tech where a smaller startup can be nimble and agile and innovative, and then they just get swallowed up. And all of a sudden, the big tech company that's bought them is innovative because they have the benefit of all of those years of iteration from that kind of nimble startup. Who wants to jump in there and talk about that balance of iteration and innovation? What are you seeing in the world of iGaming? What's exciting you? How do you think the balance should go?
I can say, Mike, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, good.
I think your chances to succeed with any innovation really increases if you actually iterate. And I mean, like development organizations, they found out very long time ago, like if you iterate, it is going to get better, like small value-driven iterations. And I would say that it's the same with anything, marketing or anything in our business or in any business actually. And it's the same goes, of course, for innovation.
Yeah, but I mean, I completely agree with you. But innovation is kind of a sexy word, and it's nice for companies to say, "Yeah, we're so innovative. We just launched this innovative whatchamacallit." Do you think it's an overused word in this industry?
I actually tried really hard to define it
Nice.
in advance of this session, and I think I got to a definition.
Yeah.
I think innovation is imagining the future way in advance of it happening. And having a vision and being convicted in that vision and actually working towards meeting it when it actually arrives.
Yeah.
It's very easy when there's a trend to jump on that trend because it's hyped, because it helps your story, because it helps you raise money. But have you really innovated if you didn't believe in it 3 years ago and had the conviction to follow through? And in contrast, iteration, I think, is actually the proof of work to show that you're an innovator. You spent that time, you did those reps, you took those iterative steps to actually deliver something. And that's your proof of work, right? So for us, last year I was here talking about microbetting at this conference. 2 years ago I was at other conferences talking about microbetting. There weren't that many companies that did that. There's probably one other, well, 2 others. Today there's a lot more. And so was there a conviction before, or are people just jumping on the trend now? I think to me, that's a distinction. And
Nice.
iteration is how you show the work.
Absolutely. Some real talk on the stage there. Endre, you want to jump in?
Yeah, just to maybe go back to your
Yeah, sure
question
thing. Yeah,
to say if innovation is overused.
Yeah, what say you?
Yes, 100%. I think
Right.
I'm not against what you're saying, but I think also in my book, innovation is together there with AI.
Oh, yes.
These terms we hear, machine learning, omni-channel.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are using it, and I think there's a big difference between innovation and just adapting to the user trends.
Yeah.
And I think you also said, what was the actual last innovation we had in this industry?
Yeah, I think John mentioned that. Yeah.
And it's like, I think, we're sportsbook led, and I would like you look at, you mentioned, for example, cash out. In my opinion, the cash out is not necessarily a innovation. It's a adaptation of the hedging principle, right? You have a bet, you close the position. It's always been there. It's just the user behavior that's been done differently. Build a bet, that's good. But if you go even further back, I would almost say in sports betting, and I know a lot of people will be upset with me now, I would almost say live betting was like the last true innovation in the sports betting. Casino, I mean, there's probably people who can speak more about that than me, or in other words, but that's my few cents.
But when
Real
we
talk on the
see it
stage,
in
yes.
market, right? Like we now all see cash outs, we see bet builders, we see other things. there was a time when that didn't exist. And yes, sure, it's natural and people have kind of discovered and adopted it, but someone had to see it before it was there and then iterate to get there and to be the first bet builder product.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, I suppose I look at it through a lens that this industry is particularly bad at innovation, actually, on a broader sort of sense. I was thinking back to probably the last really innovative sort of inclusion in the industry was probably Betfair's exchange. You know, that was genuinely, you know, market shifting for all of us. And then you look at all the small startups that come into the industry, and Adam, the CEO of MGM, said the other day, what was the advice you would give these startup founders coming to the industry? And it's, he sort of paraphrasing was, if you think you can change your users' behaviors in this industry, you know, that's not where we sit. We sit around doubling down on what's been done and iterating that process through. And I think that's probably where we sit today. I don't think we see genuine, real market-shifting innovation in this industry quick enough, like you perhaps do in other tech-led sectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting parallel, because in the world of tech, you know, the innovations are closely guarded secrets, you know, particularly with a company like Apple or something like this. And they'll spend years working on it, and all of a sudden it's public, and they get the kind of bang for the buck, they get the first mover advantage. You know, do you think that might happen in this industry again, or have we reached a place where there's a nice balance between innovative startups who've been iterating, and then you have that overnight success, but really it's been in the market for a while? You know, do we see anything on the horizon that could be interesting?
I think ultimately the player behavior is either placing a bet on sportsbook or, you know, betting on roulette or blackjack. You know, and it's so reductive, but that's really what it is. And that's why we see, in my opinion, such little innovation, is because you don't want to distract from that end action, which is so lucrative. So we're almost like the industry's guards away from building any sort of side thing that people are distracted on and spend a lot of time there, when, look, actually, no, this is where all the value is. And this is probably why Adam's doubling down on, you know, where they make all the money. And a lot of it is about user journey and all this, the slickness of it. I think we actually don't like is that people think, you know, we've got a gamification technique that works over at, you know, an air miles company, and we can think, oh, we'll bring all that in, and you know, we're going to build points, leaderboards, all this good stuff. And it's like, well, that doesn't really work in the casino industry, because in my opinion, you don't want to feel like you're in a VIP experience if you're because you've lost the money. And I think we need to sort of, so many times people ask us to do things like that, and it's like, ultimately, this industry is really reductive into placing that bet, whether it be casino or sports. And I think that's why, in my opinion, there isn't a lot of, you know, if you go to ICE or anything, there's not many stands where you go, wow, look at this new thing. It's very much the same as we've always seen there.
Yeah.
So
there's that classic saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And indeed, that seems very much to be the case. But coming over to yourself, Kirsten, now you're obviously CMO at the mighty Weekend. Talk to us a bit about that balance of iteration and, you know, iterative kind of marketing processes and using MarTech, and any innovation that you might see, that you've come across in your career, you might see on the horizon.
I think innovation comes out of the need of disruption.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those of, innovation is a word that is very much abused nowadays. And I do agree with you that innovation really, to the truth of it, is adaptation to a product or iteration of what we're seeing at the moment. Innovation is very much a key buzzword in marketing, where you kind of see it so much it becomes almost as natural as having a cup of coffee, and it's used a little bit too much. But through the need of causing disruption, we create new innovation, and you have products like Kero Bet and like Live Spins, where they're taking the new, you know, microgaming, or if you take, for example, you know, the new thing of streaming that everybody's doing, and if you even go a little bit further, the adaptation of esports and how we interact with the player on that side, that's where the innovation and causing disruption comes. If you even look at how we market to people at the moment, because of the loss of technology in certain aspects where you come to MarTech, you know, there's a whole thing of, you know, we're going to lose our cookies, we're going to lose our tracking, we're going to lose everything. So we have to be innovative. I don't think that's going to happen for a long time. I know, you know, Google keeps on moving the mark there, but I think the only product that's really stuck to it and has been innovative is, say, for example, Apple, who's changed things. And when they made the adjustment we all had to jump to it. And that's where the need for, they caused the disruption that made us have to be innovative and come up with new products and new ways to market to people and track them. But in terms of even going into different markets, whether grey market, black markets, or regulated, yes, we have to iterate of what we're doing currently, but the kind of disruption within the market caused us to be more innovative as well.
That's a really interesting point, right? I love that. I'd love to open that last point up in terms of like markets becoming more regulated, and where does this fit in and influence that kind of tension, that dynamic tension between innovation and iteration? You know, you said it kind of drives innovation in some places. Do we think it generally does that? Does it also drive iteration? What's your take?
I think it makes it harder.
Yeah,
I think traditionally, if you're looking at innovation and looking for disruption and whatnot, it's resource heavy, it's time consuming. You need to really put effort into it. You need to try, you need to fail. And the more, you know, I can use ourselves as an example, right? We're heavily regulated, we're operating in numerous jurisdictions, and the amount of resource we have to put into those markets just to stay regulated, to stay compliant, reporting, all types of basically different products almost in different jurisdictions, it very much slows down everything and makes innovation harder. That's at least my experience from it.
Interesting. Does anyone else want to jump in? Yes.
I think for the incumbents, for sure, regulation probably makes things more difficult because you have to focus on a lot of things. But for the young companies coming in, sometimes from other industries and trying to bring new, whether it's products or ways to market or other things, I think it's actually great because you don't have that existing incentive to just double down on what works. So you have to fully disrupt it, right? And regulation, I think where it lends help is take the US. When the US regulated, now you've got this entire new market in a place where people are not traditionally sports bettors. So you have to figure out how do we adapt what has existed and also things from other industries like the general tech environment to the US consumer. And that's great. It may not be great for the incumbents, but it's great for new companies coming in and bringing principles from traditional technology verticals into the space.
Yeah, and I think the grey markets is an interesting example of that with casino. You know, the most streamed sort of streams going on right now is things like Plinko and Crash games, you know, which in a regulated market is just really difficult to get off the ground and compete with stake.com, etc. So that sort of grey market, the black market that's operating is causing this innovation, iteration, tension, I think, between regulated and non-regulated operators right now.
Fascinating. Yeah, there's so many different sides to this coin. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking here that is there size on innovation? Like, because we have so much innovation on regulation, there are a lot of companies here, you know, here today that actually have done innovation within compliance and regulation to deal with that.
Yeah.
So we always think of innovation like it has to be something big, preferably has to be something that's part of the user experience. But we have lawyers that are doing innovation.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're saying that it's overused word, but it's a fantastic word. Can you really overuse it? I would say we need more innovation.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think innovation is one of those for, in terms of, like I was saying, in marketing, it makes it very easy for us to sell things to the greater public and our audience. But where the innovation really needs to happen is the product. Because as much as marketing can wrap something up in a pretty little bow and sell it, if it doesn't work, you know, we're not going to get that retention. We're not going to get the players. They're going to churn. They're going to leave, and we're not going to make the money. So my job, obviously, being in marketing, I love grey markets because they're way more fun. But I have worked in regulated markets. You know, I have felt the royal decrees, the Austrias, the Germanys, the Netherlands, and obviously the Scandinavia issues as well. And in terms of what I do, that caused a lot of innovation because we had to rethink of the norm. You know, okay, yes, we can only now do ads between 1 and 4 a.m., say for the regulated markets in Royal Decree, for example, which was probably the worst one for me personally. But again, like we were saying before, it's how the lawyers read it. You know, how do the lawyers read the regulation as well? But when you're saying, okay, we can only be on between 1 and 4 a.m. in the morning, but when you look at the actual statistics, that's when the high-value players are actually playing. So in a way, the regulation almost works in our favor, but you just have to be, you know, innovative of how you're going to target them now, because you can use influencers, you can use ambassadors, you can use this, you can use that. So, all right, do we go to a image-based person? You know, do we use AI? You have to have another shot.
Oops, another shot. We've got a game going backstage. There's shot glasses, and every time AI is mentioned,
Yes.
I don't need to tell you anymore.
So, you know, do we need to look at those kind of things? And that kind of, like I say again, causes the disruption, brings in the innovation. But us as marketing, we heavily rely on a product that works, is innovative, that allows us to actually sell and market forward. And in grey markets, like I say, we can put everything in a bow, but you are allowed to be so much more creative and forward-thinking that really, really, really helps us as in marketing. But that still says that regulation is not fun. It just means that, you know, you have to be a little bit more adaptive to the situation and think outside of the box and probably be more irritable. What's the word?
Iterative.
Iteration. I was going to say irritable. Iteration.
That works.
Iteratable.
That works sometimes.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Okay. So you have to be more adapting to the changes in that sense. But when you're coming to the grey markets, you can be much more innovative.
Can I just add to that as well? I think what you're saying as well about the product. So I'm a product person, and I think you're right in terms of innovation has to be, your product has to be good enough, and that's obviously what feeds retention. But also to the point as well, I think they've got a good example. One of my clients in America, FanDuel, and they've got a really nice, clean app, and everything they put on there is really well thought out, and they're great product people from their experience at Flutter in the UK and stuff. But then there's another operator out there that is maybe one of their competitors, and they, in my opinion, seem to throw everything they've ever thought of on there as soon as it's half-baked in their head.
Yeah.
So then that, to me, that could be deemed as innovative because they've got an NFT marketplace and they've got this and that and things that don't work. I'm like, is that innovative, or are you just throwing everything on there? And I think, in my opinion, the FanDuel or the cleaner apps that are well thought out, maybe not as classified as innovative, but much better product, functional to use. And I think that is where the winners will be.
Yeah, indeed. There is that old conundrum of innovation for innovation's sake, and what actually is this, and do the users actually want it? That's a very good observation. Thank you. So I'd like to kind of throw out an open question to anyone who wants to jump in. Have you seen an example of a company that's just like the gold standard of this stuff? So they've been innovative, they've been iterative. So, you know, innovate, iterate, dominate. You know, has anyone done this? That yes.
Yeah, I would say a good example is SoRare.
Yeah.
I think SoRare have done a really good job in terms of iterating what fantasy football could be on blockchain, etc.
Yeah.
But I think even that is coming under scrutiny now because of the bear market of Web3. The players' end experience, they've lost money on the cards. And so do people keep coming back? And I think we'll see product pressure placed on SoRare. But in terms of a business and what they achieved in a short space of time, I think it was remarkable, actually. And the rights in the Premier League have made a big difference, over in Europe as well. So I think they're a really good example, but just shows it doesn't, great product, etc. But, end user has to enjoy the experience. And if you're losing money, I would suggest you're not.
Wise words. Yes, my friend.
I've got one nut from the industry. What's been the biggest innovation in humanity in the last year? OpenAI, ChatGPT. We're going to get hammered after this.
After?
They started in 2015. First product launch, 2018, 3 years. So they had the vision in 15, launched the first iteration in 2018, 3 years later. It got really big last November. That was version 3. A long time to get there, a lot of iteration, but had the vision 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Great example. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying we're the most innovative, but to your point in terms of like people think incentive games is like some sort of overnight success, but we founded ourselves 10 years ago, and only now we're sort of become more popular. But to that point, you've got to be at this for so long, and I think, as Tomash is saying, you have to have that vision of it and then make it happen, and all those years of trying and this doesn't work, that works. And I think, people don't see the amount of work that goes behind the overnight success often.
And we know this through experience, right? Like before we powered our first real money wager through microbetting, we spent 2+ years powering a lot of free-to-play experiences, learning on professional sports teams, apps, etc. Tens of millions of bets, hundreds of thousands of users. That's real feedback, and you need that if you're going to launch something that works.
Yeah.
Well said, yes.
Just from an operator perspective, again, talking about innovation, I think the YOLO guys are really good. They are not afraid to try new things and push things out and looking at different verticals and adding. I think on the opening panel here, Tim spoke about his Telegram casino.
Oh, yes.
So those types of things, it's admirable to see. So fair play to them.
Yeah, well said, yes.
And we had Fast Track here as well, doing innovation with AI again. So I'm just trying to make them drink behind there. But
Okay, well, they're going to be smacked backstage.
I was going to say that in outside of our industry, there are companies that they are innovating for the sake of innovation, and like Apple and Tesla, because they have that culture, and people expect them to come with new innovations all the time.
Yeah.
And it would be great if some on this panel, or some of these companies actually have that legacy, so that we have to innovate.
Yeah.
Because there are so many companies in our industry now that doesn't do it, and I think we really need that pressure on us.
Yeah, indeed. The expectations of the industry is a very important factor as well. So again, open question, whoever wants to jump in. I'm curious to know, in terms of this tension, this balance between innovation and iteration, what works best for you? What have you seen that you've personally, as a company, you've had a hands-on experience of this method of working and this works for you? Yes, sir.
I usually say that speed is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what speed means is that one thing is that you can copy others faster than anybody else.
Yeah.
Then you will, have a really good product in the end. But it also means that you can try new things faster than anybody else. And that really, really works.
I have a very practical example. When we launched our product, the vision was we should curate highly contextual markets to bettors based on what's happening in the game. What we didn't know was, well, what does that actually look like in practice? So we would deploy a market every 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and we had great engagement. And then we said, let's shrink that. Let's see what happens. And the more we shrunk it, we went from 3 to 2, we had greater engagement. 2 to 1, greater engagement. 2 to half a minute, greater engagement. And we were so excited. Oh yeah, we found the solution. But then somebody said, well, if it's true going this way, it has to be true going back. And so we went back to 3 or 4 minutes. And because we had some mechanics to allow for instant feedback loops, users freaked out. They said, is this broken? What happened? Did this thing crash? Blah, blah, blah. So it definitely worked the other way. And again, without the iteration, without the practical experience, you just don't find that out.
Yeah. Well said. Is there a secret sauce in terms of the company culture that can really achieve this good balance between iteration and innovation? Is there anything that you kind of want to bring out of your colleagues in terms of how they kind of manage this balance?
I think you need to empower them, and I don't micromanage people, and just give them the autonomy to create the outcome. We're very outcome driven. We do a 4-day week, and it's very, very much like you're just trying to, this is the outcome we're trying to achieve, and the guys have got full autonomy, full trust, working from home to just get it done in the best, most efficient way. And from our data guys using ChatGPT analysis tools to whatever it is, as long as the outcome is, there, what we're trying to achieve, don't try to hold their hand on it. Just let them. They're all empowered to do as they should, and it works. So that's the way we do it.
And they have to have passion for the problem you're solving.
Yeah.
For us, we hire a lot of data scientists, AI engineers, have another shot, guys.
Yeah.
But the criteria is we look at the technical skills as only half of the equation. And we used to make that mistake where we'd say, oh, this person is super impressive technically, let's hire them.
Yeah.
But if they lack the passion for sports, they were actually a 5 out of 10 player because they were missing that other half. So it's much better to hire an 8 out of 10 in technology and 8 out of 10 in terms of passion for sports, because then you have a full 8 out of 10 on the whole. So I think they have to have passion, because then you can just let the team loose, and they're going to love the task.
strongly agree that you have to have passion for what you're doing. And it's not just down to whether you're in tech or you're in marketing or you're in products. You have to have passion for casino, sportsbook, or whichever it may be. And you have to have a passion for the industry. I mean, iGaming, you're constantly, what you do today is not okay tomorrow sometimes. You have to have that need and rush for adrenaline, the want to drive further, that need for innovation, you know? And like you're saying, you have to give people the space to grow, for them to feel like they're empowered as well, but also be there as a support. And there's only so far that you can, you know, I always use this saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink kind of scenario. You know, you can support them as much as possible, but you have to reduce the micromanaging, because they have to be allowed to have the freedom to think and be able to be themselves and take their empowerment, but you have to give them the tools to be able to grow and take that on and achieve the best that they can. And that's largely down to management, but it's also just down to the passion and the drive of the person.
Well said. Now, do you know what? I have one final question, which is, are you all going to join us for drinks on the roof this evening? Because we are actually out of time. I'm so sorry. So folks have any questions? They want to have a chat with our rockstar panelists? Join us on the roof a bit later. But first, please join me in thanking our wonderful speakers. Big up to Endre, Jamie, John, Kirsten, Thomas, and Tomash. Thank you so much. Amazing. Thank you. Brilliant. Great stuff. Okay, folks, we're going to do a little, they're going to be absolutely hammered backstage. We're going to do a little stage changeover, and then we'll be back for the Hot Six. See us right here in a couple of minutes.